Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Equalizer. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we have Malik. At first, you're kind of like, oh, bummed because he's like mixed up all of his drug stuff. And his mom, which that actress played Grace most recently in City on a Hill Season 2. So I was like, hey! There's somewhat I want to talk about that in just comparison, but I don't want to because I don't want to spoil it, just in case anyone hasn't seen City on a Hill, because there's a lot of like twists and turns to that I won't want to spoil, but it's interesting. But obviously she reaches out to Robin, and Robin understands, like, right, she's a mother, because she's like, oh, maybe, you know, what I'm asking you to do, make sure my son's okay. I know this might be below your pay grade, but it's like, no, like, for her, it's like, it's important because it's important to you. This is your baby boy, so, like, I understand. Like, she gets it as a mother herself. So, Robin, Harry, and Mel look into this, and it turns out, like, when she meets up with Malik, because Malik was, you know, acting dodgy at weird hours, keeping secrets, even though he'd always been open with her, and he was always such a good, you know, good kid, good in school and everything. But then, like, the moment he got snatched up by people, I was like, are those cops? And it's like, yeah, it's the DEA, but all of this is super off books. And so Robin comes in there like, yo, I followed your rickety van, I'm his aunt. And then she talks to Malik. It turns out he went to a party, someone handed him some drugs he wasn't really all about. It was like a couple, like it was Molly or whatever, and he put it in his pocket. The DEA rolled up on him and basically said, like, right, he crossed state lines, so it made it federal. So now he could do hard time. He could do like 5 years. Or he could work for them. So it's like, damn, like, and that ends up being the thing that kind of like the DEA, at least these particular agents are acting like I mean, say what you want about it, but some people feel like law enforcement is just a gang in itself. Am I saying that's the right way to look at it? Some people in law enforcement can just be seen as members of a gang. Not saying the whole establishment represents that, because not everybody rolls like that. But still, like, this episode kind of like highlights of like, yeah, how they like can make their own rules and do whatever they want to. It's like, because it's off the books and nothing's official, like they can keep changing rules. Because Malik was like, yeah, they told me I had to do it once, and then they told me I had to do it again and again. It's like, and now they want him to put a wire in there, but he's like, if I put a wire in there, like, I'm as good as, like, if I put a bug in there, I'm most likely dead. And that's the thing Robin talks about, is like, they get kids that they know they can manipulate and take advantage of, and like they can do it without issue, because like, well, if the kids die, who cares? They're from like a neighborhood where no one's going to miss them. It's like, the fact that you're going to have some kid's blood on your hand, you don't care. The dude's partner seemed like she was at least like, oh, let's pull him out. He's like, no, he's going to get himself killed anyway. For like, we go in there, let's wait. He's just panicking. It's like, what? No. Like, the fact is, it's like, oh, because, 6 months are going to go down the drain. Like, well, you should have found someone else. I mean, you're sending, like, a kid who's got no training, but it's like, because it's easier. They're disposable, like, it's off the books. If things go sideways, well, they went sideways. But if they didn't, hey, cool, we got more ammunition we could use against them. And it's just, that is some, like, predatory behavior, dude. That sucks. And so, it's a good thing Malik had Robin on his side, because she was like, here's my number. She secretly gave it to him. It's like, cool. Because they're like, Malik, you can leave here anytime you want to. It's not like we're forcing you, but you know, you leave here. What that means is like, because like, even Robin's like, what you talking about? You gave him a choice. Either go to jail or be in a situation where you could most likely die. It's like, there is no choice in that. Like, and Malik ends up going off with, Lamar, like the leader of what was a 6th Street Mafia or something like that. Which is, hearing that, I can only like, I know it's not, but it's just like, for whatever reason, like, because I have to pause for a second, because I almost want to be like 3-6 Mafia. It's like, no, don't. God, I haven't heard a 3-6 Mafia song in like, I can't remember the last time I listened to a 3-6 Mafia song. It's been so fucking long. Regardless, tangents and all that aside, that's where it went in my brain. I was like, no, it's 6th Street Mafia, not like 3-6 Mafia. Regardless. But yeah, like, because they didn't go in when they were supposed to, Robin luckily got there in time, and she was ready to like bust through the door and take them down, but they had already left with Malik. Luckily, he had Robin's number, so he dialed her so she could hear him, and they were able to track him down, because he was sent in to basically deliver a bomb to like their rivals. That turned super sideways. the guy who's the leader, Sims, is like, yo, just put it in the sewer, like submerge it in water, that'll stop it from going off like that. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so it kind of reminds me a little bit. It's not the same thing, but it kind of reminds me of, what was it, Dominic Mini from once again, I hate that I do it, but I can't help, because it feels like that to me. It reminds me of Person of Interest, but especially because I want to say that was like season 3 storyline, is like one of the major storylines was like rivalry between gangs and stuff like that. I want to say that was season 3 with Dominic. That might have been season 4. I want to say it was season. I don't know. I don't remember. I could be. That might have actually been a season 4 storyline in actuality, because I don't think. Spoiler. I'm not going to get into it, just in case there's a new one I might want to go off and watch Person of Interest. Regardless, luckily, Robin showed up and got Malik out of there. It got him and his mom out of there, which I will say, like, I'm glad things worked out like that, because certain other thing, oh God, I just, like I said, I'm trying to talk around it. That actress's character in this show had a much happier time than her character of Grace and City on the Hill. City on the Hill was just kind of like the sad ending to things. This is like, oh, things worked out. Like, you know, granted, like, you can't compare the character's son of Malik to like her 2 sons and Grace's 2 sons in City on the Hill. Similar yet different circumstances, but it's still like, it's just, I don't know why, just in my heart, I'm like, I'm glad it worked out for her in this. I know it's weird to say that, like, compare and contrast shows like that, but it's just like, that was just something that was going through my mind. But, Robin got the idea of, like, right, she was basically dealing with 3 gangs, and the best way to kind of take them out would basically use them against each other. So she has Mel pretend to be a DE agent, going to Lamar being like, yo, we want to take down Sims, and you help us do it, like, we'll let you control his operation. And she's like, yo, I'm like, you know, you think I'm just doing this for my pension? While at the same time, Robin is hitting up Sims being like, yo, we'd rather, you only use violence when necessary, so we want to use you to take him down. And it's like, that's the crazy thing. Robin was able to manipulate both of them into showing up at the meeting wearing a wire, so the DEA got what they wanted at the end. Detective Mallory, who's been following around Robin the entire episode, rolls up, but Robin stops him because it's a good thing too, because he would have busted up a big operation like this that would have taken down 2 major gangs. So luckily Dante was there to back. Like, she got the tip about Lamar's like other people he had stationed by to light up the scene when necessary, because he wanted to kill Sims. Is a DEA or whatever, it doesn't matter as long as I'm able to walk away with my hands clean. But luckily there was no bloodshed that night. Took down both leaders of the gangs and the gangs themselves, and now Malik and Grace are okay, because now they held up their end of the bargain with the DEA, so they're not going to be bothering Malik. So things work out on that end. But the DA is not just going to get away with what they did. The person who wrote the article about Robin, Guardian Angel or Vigilante, we'll get to it later. But it's like, he's like, oh, I thought it was supposed to be me. It's like, oh, she's not here, but she thought there'd be another story you want to hear. So they tell their story and their experience. And I love that it's like, hey, the boss wants to see you. And the 2 agents are like, about what? Most likely about your jobs. I'm like, yeah. Like I said, she was a little bit better than her partner, but they both suck. So, you know. Because that's what it is. Because that was the whole point Robin was making. Each one of them wanted more power. The DEA wanted to, like, these agents wanted to boost their career by taking down some bad guys by whatever means. Lamar wanted to take out the competition, and Sims wanted to expand his territory. So it's like everybody wanted, they were just all greedy, and they got so caught up in what they wanted. It allowed Robin to just manipulate them and kind of like put them in the situation. Like, they were already against each other, but used that against them. So luckily it all works out in the end. But obviously, getting back to that article, I love it. That Harry's biggest upset about it is like, right, because everyone's just painting like, oh, this mysterious vigilante, but it's like, you know, people can't really believe that you just did this on your own. And it's like, wait, are you mad that you're like, oh, you don't want to be mentioned, but you also do want to be mentioned. He's like, I don't know, like, just some appreciation. And even at the end, she's like, are you still on about that article? He's like, just a little bit. Because I love Millie. He's like, I appreciate you. And he's like, thanks, babe. But it's like, it's just like he wants a, it's like, no. Robin doesn't do this on her own. We're the silent partners that help out in this, but we don't get no credit. She gets all the limelight. Like, come on. A man who's been, kind of dead for like 5 years, I want at least a little light shined on me about like, oh yeah, my part to play in all this. So I thought that was funny. But the whole Detective Mallory thing, I thought that was going to go a little differently when he was talking about the fact is, well, if he can't, like, he is behind his step when it comes to Robin, but he's thinking, like, well, at the very least, what I can do is try and get to our known associates, which going after Mel and Harry is not going to be easy. Harry, like, erase his digital foot trail. Mel, she's out and about, like, she owns the bar and everything, but, like, we've never really gone too much into, like, what her cover is, like, considering, like, she's got a past like Robin's, so hers might be off the books like Robin, so like she's able to exist without anything ever be like, I don't think it's ever going to be a thing of like, oh, running facial recognition or fingerprints on, because even Robin was like, oh, no, go ahead and run my glass DEA for my fingerprints, you ain't going to find nothing. But I'm curious, could the same thing be for Mel, considering like they've been in that same line of work? So I was wondering like if it was going to be something on that front, Mallet, but it's like, no. Mallory, I love that, like, he even got handcuffed to the car and Dante had to be like, hey, it sucks when the lion has to go. He's like, just shut up and uncuff me. But now Dante's in his crosshairs now because he's like, yeah, I was looking for known associates, but he's just like, I was looking in the wrong direction, because now he realizes, like he's like, right, why Dante never caught her. But it's the thing of, like, Dante recognizes the good that she does. Detective Mallory, it's like, for him, it's like she exists outside of the law. For him, it's like it's so black and white. Dante was like that too, but now he recognizes there is the shade of gray. The fact is, what she does good. She's able to operate in the means of like where the law can't pick up. I mean, look at this situation. A kid was trapped in a terrible situation because of officers. So, like, we're talking federal agents had a kid mixed up in something that terrible that would have gotten him killed. This same thing has happened before. Luckily, Malik had Robin and the team like in his corner, but other people weren't. So it's kind of an example of like, yeah, what she does matter, because she's able to help. Because this case would have never gotten in front of like the NYPD or anything, like anyone else, if it wasn't for like Malik's circumstances and being able to put those agents on blast. I mean, it's not just them, but at least they in particular, because they would have continued to do this regardless if they were able to, because they would have gotten promotions for taking down these people, so they would have gotten recognition, and it would have put them in a position where they can continue doing this. At the very least, you can't stop it as a whole, but people are more aware, and so people can be more equipped and prepared to not be in a situation. Because the reason why Malik didn't fight it too is because like he knew if he ever went to court, like his mom would have to pay for an attorney. Like she would too, but it's like they don't have the money for that type of thing, and it's like he would have lost his scholarship. His whole entire future was being held over his head, and that was the thing of like they just wanted to use him in that situation. So it's definitely going to be interesting now that, like, Mallory's got it set in his mind of, like, oh, he's definitely going to be keeping tabs on Dante. And I'm sure he's going to use that to his advantage to be like, oh, I'm going to go after Robin, I'm going to do this. He's going to probably say all that in front of Dante just so that Dante will report to her and he'll have the evidence he needs to take Dante down. But I don't know if he's going to tell the DA what he knows. Because it might be a situation of, well, he doesn't have evidence to prove it yet, so he's not going to say anything, or he's going to let her know, and it's like, right, you put Dante on the job, but the reason why he came short is because he sided with her in the long run. It might even bring in question like, oh, maybe he was never sincere about taking her down in the first place. But he was kind of open about it when he first talked to the DA about like his connection to her and everything. That was the whole reason why the DEA gave him the job. But I'm curious if like, because that was the whole thing about like, it's like, yeah, he's Dante tried to warn her about Mallory earlier in this episode. She's like, yeah, let him look, I've been chased by better. And I was like, yeah. And Dante's like, yeah, but even a squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, gets lucky. So I think he's going to set Dante up, but we'll definitely see how that all plays out going forward. But another like very heartbreaking side of this episode is the whole situation with Delilah. Obviously, it's like a memorial for Jason, and she had a speech ready to talk about him, but she ended up leaving because all these people who didn't know Jason like were saying all these things about like, oh, how much they miss him, like how much of a good friend. It's like 90% of these people didn't even talk to him once, and they've got the nerve to be talked. And her mom talks about it. It's like some people want to use tragedy to make themselves feel special. Like, oh, I was so close to death, and like, oh my God, this is so terrible. It's like the sad thing is, that's not just a kid thing. That's a people thing. You'll find full-grown adults who will do that, spin the truth to make themselves feel better, make themselves feel special, And it's like, and I thought it was so interesting what Robin said, where it's like, when you know who people really are, when they've revealed who they really are, you're not going to change your mind because they're very stuck in their way of just kind of like, because like Delilah wanted to put them on blast, but it's like, no, like going forward, what you say, it's like, is going to be an extension of Jason's legacy now. Would he want to be remembered in this way by you saying all this, calling all these people out? Sure. Like, would he want to be remembered that? Or by these words about who he was to you and how important he was to you? And that's like that recording she gives at the end, heartbreaking, Her Aunt Vi is listening to it, her mom is listening to it, but it's just like, she's like, me and Jason, we dreamed about, a better world, but it's like before he got shot, like the world can change with a smile or a bullet in an instant. It's like when he smiled, you couldn't help but smile. And she'd even talked about it earlier with her mom, like at the beginning of the episode, she talked about his laugh being the last thing she heard. That they had their visions about like what the world was going to be, but neither one of them thought, never in their wildest dreams about like how like in the world they wanted to make, that it would ever be a world without Jason in it. So he was like, she's like, he was my best friend, and she got to like tell people to remember Jason this way, the way I knew him. So I thought that was a beautiful message, and I was just like, and it's rough that someone that young has to go through that, and it's just I consider myself very fortunate to never been in a situation like, I've never lost someone like that. I've lost people tangentially connected to me like that. Like, I don't want to get into it because I'm not trying to like take advantage of like my like. I've had people like adjacent to me pass away. Some people like I knew pass away under certain circumstances. One that will always stick out to me is just one I remember from elementary school. I won't go into detail because it's not my family situation to talk about, but there was someone I knew when I was in elementary school who passed away, and like I said, it's just like that's the closest thing like outside of family I've ever had to like a tragedy of like, wow, like it hit me like, holy crap, like someone I know died, and it just and I still think about it from time to time. Like, this was like years, like I said, it was like I was in elementary school when it happened. So I'm not trying to like get all like depressing here and stuff like that, but it's just like I said, I consider myself very fortunate never being in that situation. Other people can't, it's just like, I don't know, just that in itself just kind of struck a chord with me, that's all it is. That's, I don't know, I'm getting a little like, like, I don't know, like I said, it touched me, like that whole scene and the whole situation, it was sad but beautiful in its own right, so I'll kind of leave it there because I'm going on a huge tangent here at the end. It just, like I said, that whole thing just struck a chord with me. But either way, I'm really interested to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good